We're living in an age when everyone is absolutely obsessed with what we're putting into our bodies, and we're also obsessed with our wellness routines, but we seem to be ignoring what we're putting onto our skin. Today we're talking about endocrine disrupting chemicals, or EDCs, tiny molecules that are interfering with our hormones every single day. We're going to tell you about the issues, but it can be very overwhelming and very confusing, so we'll also tell you about the measures you can take. Joining me is Tule Park, founder of Skin Diligent, skincare based on the science of epigenetics and the first brand in the world to test for endocrine disruption. Welcome, Tule.
Thank you.
This is a very complicated topic because there aren't many studies around hormone disruption. Can you just explain what EDCs actually are, please?
Sure, with pleasure. So EDCs, or endocrine disrupting chemicals, are chemicals that really mimic our hormones, or they actually give the wrong signals to the cells which have the hormone receptors. So this can be positive or negative, but of course when we're talking about the EDCs, we're talking about the negative impact that these chemicals have on our health through the hormones. So some of the problems that can arise from EDCs are problem with cognition, so learning ability. There's also reproduction problems. Some studies are also linking it to the sperm count reduction that we are experiencing. We can even go further to cancers. They build up in the body in a slow fashion. So it's not because you've been exposed to an EDC today, the problem is going to rise in a few days. These are chemicals that accumulate.
Why should we care?
There are chemicals, can be natural or synthetic, that come and mimic the hormones, trick the hormone receptors in the cells, so they can modify the way the cells function. So it can be positive or negative, but of course when we're talking about EDCs, we're talking about the negative effects.
And where are EDCs found?
They're found today in many parts, in our water that we drink, in products that we use. They're also in the food we are consuming.
How do they actually build up, accumulate in the body?
They're tiny molecules. The body is an extremely intelligent system. It has the capacity to get rid of some of these chemicals, but the accumulation of too many toxins makes the body very difficult to eliminate them. So there is an accumulation in the body.
And where do they accumulate?
In the
Everywhere,
cells, that's right, because the endocrine disrupting chemicals are really mimickers of hormones, and therefore it's in the cells. They are communication molecules, and therefore they are affecting in the cells.
And can you tell me about the regulation and what's happening at the moment?
The regulations are very interesting, to say the least, because the history of endocrine disrupting chemicals is very short. Although science and studies have been done since the 70s, 80s, only in 2002 the World Health Organization has recognized, or at least acknowledged, that these EDCs were a category of chemicals that could have a negative impact on human health. Since then, nothing really has been done. On the European level, at the EU level, they started putting together the biggest offenders of endocrine disruption. So they have categorized a list of EDCs, but the list actually contains a lot of ingredients that have a negative impact on the aquatic life, for example, on the environment. When we look at the impact on the human health, the ingredient list is actually very short. So it's something that we haven't really discussed, or has not even been recognized as a real potential health risk officially.
Why do you think that is?
Well, I think there is a lot of lobbying power from chemical companies. That goes without any doubt. So in the world, we have acknowledged, and there are regulations that protect human health from carcinogenic chemicals and the mutagenic chemicals. So these are the two categories that contain very strict regulations today when it comes to chemical ingredients. To get the endocrine disruption as a separate category of risk for human health hasn't really taken, it hasn't really been adopted as a regulation. I think there is a new regulation on the REACH that is coming out, I think, July 2025 now that is being discussed, where they are really planning to acknowledge and create this third category of risk for human health, which is the endocrine disruption, the hormone disruptors.
Can you just explain what REACH is as well, please?
It's just a set of rules, a regulation that the EU has started, and it's all about authorization, evaluation. So I think it stands for regulation, evaluation, authorization of the chemical products.
Okay, and that then will hopefully be also taken on in the UK as well.
We hope so, although since Brexit, the UK has now a separate body that regulates all these chemicals and therefore not necessarily in tune with what's happening in the EU. But we hope that the UK will follow these rules, because it's true in the world today, the European Union is the most advanced when it comes to the topics of EDCs. Not perfect, far from being perfect, but still one of the most advanced in terms of regulations.
Can you tell me about why you're so interested in endocrine disruptors and also about your brand Skin Diligent?
We are based on the science of epigenetics. And when we started, the first product that we launched was on acne targeting that we created for my daughter, who was then 13, 14 years old. Acne being a hormonal skin condition, we wanted to ensure that there was no hormone impacting ingredients. And when we looked into that endocrine disrupting chemical list, the list was just too short. So we started looking into the question really for us was, how can we ensure that the product that we're using is not going to modulate, whether it's a positive or negative, on a child that is developing her sexual organs thanks to the hormones that are being developed at that growth stage of adolescence. We did not want to have any product that would come and impact in that development of her organs. So we wanted to ensure that, and therefore we created this test. We worked with a university in France and with our scientists. We've created a test that we do it on a petri dish. We have a cell that has receptors of the hormones. So we started with estrogenic receptors, and we can actually see how the product impacts how the receptors work, whether they take on the product or they don't. And this is the first test we've done, and we called it the estrogenic endocrine disrupting test. And now, 4 years into the formulations that we exist in the market, we have also developed an androgenic test. So since we started then, we've understood as we went by in our development the impact of these hormones on other stages of life, not just adolescence. But of course, when you are pregnant or even going through your menopause, these are the periods in our life when we are so much more sensitive to the hormone changes. And therefore, the whole skin care range being free of endocrine disruption, we could actually say that we were safe to be used during pregnancy, for example, because it will not impact in a positive or negative way. Because we're not there to do that. We're a skincare company. We just want to improve your skin quality and not play the role of unknowingly the endocrine disruption.
Can you talk me through some of the ingredients that can disrupt hormones?
I think the ones that are really well documented and spoken a lot in the market are the BPAs, the phthalates, some of the parabens, not all of them, just like 8 parabens, I think, or maybe more, but half of it is considered today an EDC and the other one isn't. But beyond those ingredients that are well known, because that list is so short at the beginning, I could not, as a mother at that time, feel sure that the products were non-endocrine disrupting. And therefore, avoidance of this list of ingredients that are known endocrine disruptors today wasn't good enough. And therefore, when we test the final formula on the cell receptors, we can tell whether the final formula, because the funny thing is also when the innocent ingredients come together, they can also create what we call a cocktail effect and trigger the endocrine disruption. And therefore, to avoid all of that, a test was created. So we can talk about those BPAs and phthalates, especially when it comes to the skincare. The phthalates are probably one of the biggest culprits today, well documented. But I would say, given the testing that we've done, when we test our formulas, we had to reformulate several times because the final formula would trigger. And we are very natural. We are 99+% natural.
That's amazing.
So it's not because it's natural that it's not going to trigger that endocrine disruption. And therefore, it was a very interesting experiment that we've tested the final products to ensure. It's quite eye-opening.
So do you think brands test their final products, or do they just go on what they think are endocrine disruptors in the ingredients list?
I think from as far as we know, no brand in the market test the final products. As I said, when we wanted to do that, there was no test in the market, so we developed a test. I think it's difficult for a brand, an existing brand, to start testing their products in the middle of their development for a new product to be free of endocrine disruption, because it could raise the question of what about all the other ones that you formulated in the past. So it's a very difficult position for a brand to step in the middle of their development or their growth to introduce this. We were lucky. We've done it as one of our pillars. It's really the cellular health depends on the being free of these toxins, not just mutagenic and carcinogenic, but also this third category that Rich is about to introduce. We've wanted to make sure that there was really an absence, because when we are formulating from an epigenetic point of view, we are really formulating from a cellular point of view. So all skincare formulas that we work on are not really about first, how are we going to remove your wrinkles or your hyperpigmentation? We do that first and foremost. The question is raised from the cellular point of view. What can we do to help our skin cells to do their job better? And for cells to be viable, to be able to do their jobs. The toxins are definitely inhibitor to their performance. So the test was very important. When we look at the cellular health, the secondary effect of that is the improvement of the skin problems, blemishes, like even the fine wrinkles, fine lines come down, the hyperpigmentations are resolved, we have a better quality of the skin barrier, etc. So first we look at from the cellular level, we improve the skin barrier level, and because the cells are doing their job well, we can resolve the skin issues.
So there are loads of people in the industry that talk about toxins not being able to be absorbed into the skin. What do you say about that?
It's a very tricky question, because the official definition of a cosmetic is that it does not get through the epidermis. We know that when we use as perimenopausal women or postmenopausal in my case, when we use hormone patches, the delivery of the medication, the hormones, is actually done through transepidermal. So it goes through the skin. When we try to stop smoking, we use a tobacco patch. And that, again, is a delivery of the medication of an ingredient through our skin. Skin absorbs. On the other side, you can go swim in the ocean, come out, and you're not, you haven't taken up all the volume of water. So skin is an intelligent organ that can regulate what it decides to absorb and what it doesn't. When it comes to water-based ingredients, the skin has less affinity to absorb it. That's why the water doesn't get through. But when it comes to more lipid-based, and we manipulate the lipidity of that absorption level in our formulation to make products more efficacious, and that is absorption. Now, how far does it go through the skin barrier level? So does it go from the epidermis, from the outer layer of the skin barrier, all the way through the epidermis to the basal level and beyond to the dermis? That's a question that we need to address in a more careful manner. So as a skincare company, we try to, of course, impact just the epidermis. But it raises the question in the industry, like when we're talking about collagen, which is an interesting ingredient like the vitamin A or the retinol, we're talking about the boosting of collagen. Where's the collagen exist. It's the protein that exists in the dermal level. So we need to really address that old definition that probably now dates back to 50 years plus, or 2025, so maybe 70 years, that old definition of what a cosmetic is. We do make sure that our skincare products are not medical grade or medical performance, but we can do so much already on that epidermis level. The cells are in every level of that skin, and therefore already by improving the skin barrier, we can improve so many skin conditions.
And Tule, what is epigenetics, and why should we be talking about it and looking into this?
Epigenetics is really the new science that came out. It existed, of course, before, but the amplitude of that science really exploded post-2000 when we had the Human Genome Project, and the scientists have mapped really every single gene, the genome of a human being. So since then, the research has ballooned in levels that we have never seen before. And we're understanding that the genetic code that we inherit from our parents is just code. That those codes have no meaning if the influences that come to express which of those the genes inside of the DNA get pressed, it's what we call the expression of those genes, are creating those cells. So the influence that impacts those genetic codes, think of it as the piano keys are there.
Yeah.
That's their genetic. But the fingers, they need to come and play on those key notes, will make the music, and those are the epigenetic factors. And they can be, anything from nutrition to how you manage your stress, to traumas, to toxins. So they can be positive and negative. Now, the wonderful thing about epigenetics is that contrary to toxins that are mutagenic, that come and really change the DNA, the genetic code of your blueprint, the epigenetic factors most of it can be reversed. So even if we've done damage to our body, we can actually repair and we can improve that. And of course, as we age, that capacity of repairing and regeneration gets less and less. Yeah. So it's important to really reduce those toxins like endocrine disruptions, but also other toxins, in order to give the body, our health, our skin, the chance to do their job, because they are programmed to repair, to regenerate, etc. So epigenetics is really the science that explains all the external factors that create who you are today. It's a really empowering message, because you can actually improve your future. Whatever you've done in the past.
Yeah, that's really interesting and great to know. Can you tell me as well about dosage of EDCs and why that matters?
Hormones, or even EDCs, which mimic hormones, are only required in tiny amounts to have an impact on the cells. So the importance of EDCs and really cutting down anything that can be potentially endocrine disrupting is extremely important, especially on those very sensitive periods of our lives, like adolescence, pregnancy, and perimenopause. You can think of things like contraceptive pills, for example. Contraceptive pills are EDCs, very well-known EDCs nobody talks about. But what do? They come and block that hormone receptor, so you are not producing what you're supposed to produce. But that may be progesterone, or that may be estrogen, etc. And therefore you are suppressing the role of the cell to do something. When you come off contraceptive pills because you are planning for pregnancy, let's say, you get this rush of acne because all of a sudden the hormones that are sitting on this, that are coming to attach on the hormone receptors, are just going crazy. They are just too active all of a sudden because they found the receptors.
Yeah, that's crazy. So what do you suggest around that? If somebody was to come off the pill, what would you say?
You got to come off the pill, and really the consequences of that you need to manage. Obviously, if you're planning for a pregnancy, understand that these things can happen, and try to regulate your hormones. There are today studies that link certain probiotics that can also help the regulation of those hormones. Hormones are also gatekeepers, certain enzymes that the gut produces that makes those hormones recycle back into the system via the liver, etc. I think there are things that we can explore, maybe speak to a naturopath or someone who is experienced in managing hormones, because not all women go through this kind of eruption and acne, but many do. So it's, I think, just be ready for that.
So I'm obviously pregnant at the moment, Tule, and thank you so much. I'm obviously very diligent. I've been very diligent about what I put on my skin and what I'm eating, and I'm really trying to look after myself. Can you tell me a bit about pregnancy skin and also about Skin Diligent?
It's something that I think women, we transform in our head when we're pregnant, because all of a sudden it's no longer about us, just me. It's also about the little one that is coming. And that switch in our brain really changes a woman's view on how to take care of that protection, that mother protective sense comes up. And that's how I started with Skin Diligent for my daughter, and that whole formulation was about how to improve skin issues with that cleanliness, but not just because I'm using natural ingredients. We were actually doing more biotech. But when it comes to pregnancy, we are so careful, as you say, what you eat, what you put on the skin, but we should also have that diligency in any time of our lifetime, right? So any product that you are able to use in pregnancy is a good measure, actually, for safety that we can use as a yardstick to say, if you can use it in your pregnancy, you can use it at any time. But as perimenopause, the skin changes because your hormones are shifting, and therefore your lipid production also dependent on the hormones. That's why when you have acne again, you have more lipids. That's because the androgens are more active, etc. Your skin changes. So there are periods when your skin will be very dry, and there will be periods when your skin will be actually very glowing because there are more lipids being produced. So what you want is to work with your skin. We are very clear in our philosophy. A skin is a living, breathing organ. It's an intelligent organ. Some people come and say, I have dry skin, what do I do? Here's your routine. For dry skin routine, this is it. But the terminology using the word routine is already assuming that you are dry, or the person has dry skin, and that's how you're going to be. But that's untrue, because skin changes with the humidity, changes with temperature, it changes with your hormone stress, etc. So in pregnancy, we want to make sure that you are putting products that are regulating or working with your skin. So nothing too heavy. All those occlusive, very thick products you should really avoid. So you need probably products that are very light, but gives you what the skin really needs. And the skin is not very complicated. You need antioxidants, because that's number one, what the skin needs. You need hydration, so water elements, and you need some kind of moisturization, which is really the oil elements. So hydration and moisturization is two separate concepts. So when you give your skin those three elements, you're good to go, right? And then you can protect your skin from the sun and using the SPF, etc. But really, when it comes to the basic of what the skin needs, you just have to think about those things. And those things can come in, preferably choose them in light textures.
So I've been absolutely obsessed with this your vitamin C serum. I've used it every day. I've used 2 bottles actually since being pregnant. Can you tell me why my skin loves it so much?
So we were just talking about that antioxidant, hydration, and moisturization. And with these 2 serums, you're achieving all those in one go. So you actually start with the cellular hydration, which is the water base, and it has our patented ingredient that actually comes and boosts the vitamin D receptor proteins. All of that to say that it improves your cellular health. And you can actually allow your body to produce the vitamin Ds even without exposure to the sun.
Okay.
It contains probiotics, and it includes all those water elements like hyaluronic acid, etc. Water elements will evaporate at one point, and therefore you need to seal it with a moisturizing element, which is the lipids. So our vitamin C is a biotech lipidic form, born lipidic, so it doesn't oxidize, and you can apply it in the morning. So when you apply this product that also contains the punicic acid, another extremely amazing antioxidant, you are actually combining antioxidants, you're combining the hydration, and you're applying the moisturization, which is the lipidic form of this product. All of them, the textures are very light.
Yeah.
So you can wear makeup if you want. You can wear an SPF on top of it. It's very light on your texture, and it will work with your skin depending on your skin needs. It will regulate that lipid production, etc. So you will be very comfortable at very dry areas or even very humid environments.
My skin feels really plump after using the vitamin C.
When we're using something like our Exosome Advanced Night Cream, it's a very light texture.
Yeah.
It has all its balanced lipids and the hydration elements that we talked about earlier, but it also allows the skin to do its job.
Interesting.
And it's enough to send the signals to the skin to say, regulate your own lipids, because I'm not giving it to you. So it's really this concept of a cellular fitness, because we want cells to work for what they need to do.
Would you say that's a new concept in skincare?
It's something that we are talking about, definitely, because as I say, when we're looking at everything from a cellular point of view, to keep that healthy cell, healthy skin, we need to work with that skin. And it's not about sending the wrong signals. And because it's a night cream, at night the skin has a very different function from daytime function. So in the daytime, the skin needs to protect itself. It's all about defense, and it's all about alertness. And at nighttime, the skin goes into the same as the body, into that circadian rhythm where it's going to regenerate, repair, detoxify. And that doesn't mean necessarily that the toxins are coming through your pores, but it's the cellular detoxification that takes place internally. So it allows for the skin to do its job at night.
Okay, everybody's talking about exosomes at the moment. What are they, and what type have you used?
So exosomes, you're right, it's very trendy, but I think it's going to be more than trend, because you have to think of them as vectors. They're like delivering systems. And the real exosomes, although there are now synthetic exosomes, the real exosomes are excreted. They're really produced by most living cells. So it can be plants, humans, animals, bacteria. All living cells produce these exosomes. And the size of these exosomes are so small that makes them that much effective.
Right, okay.
And it really depends on what's inside of the exosomes that will carry the message. So they are cellular messengers, and depending on what's inside the cargo, inside of those vesicles, we have an effect on the skin. So the one that we have in this product is lactobacillus exosomes, and it carries certain proteins that come to improve the skin barrier, because it's all about those tight junctions. Those are proteins that link the skin cells together. So when we're talking about skin barrier integrity, these are the real physical junction, like the chain mails, chain links that will come and stick the cells together. So,
incredible. If people are just learning about ECDs now, what's something that they can do today?
I think first and foremost, we need to remind ourselves that the body is an intelligent system, capable of removing most of the toxins that we actually put inside. The problem today is that this level of toxicity is so high that the body is really struggling to remove them, and that's why we're getting a lot of skin, but also health issues. So from a skincare point of view, I think in the bathroom we have so many products. Less is more. So use less products. We are only, unfortunately, the only company that I know that we do testing on the final products, but skincare products like this, they are multi-purpose. They can do 2 products, for example, responds to all your skincare needs. So we can go one step at a time. Maybe start with one thing. For example, burning candles. The majority of the candles in the market are paraffin. We're burning petrochemical in our house and inhaling them because they smell so nice, right? So that's the first thing maybe we can do to stop.
Great tip.
On skincare, we can start to already, because the INCI list, the ingredient list, doesn't say much about those endocrine disrupting chemicals. But already if you're choosing natural, you are probably on the right path. Not all natural is endocrine disruption free, but it's much better than being on the path of mixed formulas. Third, perfumes, very controversial today. It's not the fact that the perfumes are bad, it's that there's such a lack of transparency in perfumes, and it's the addition of those phthalates, which are synthetic ingredients that we add in order to prolong the smell of a perfume, that are the endocrine disruptors. So perfume itself is not a bad thing as long as they are 100% natural. But if the perfume doesn't specify it's 100% natural, then avoidance. So I think we can do one step at a time. I think that, there are many things we can do, but it's just all about reducing that toxic level that we're exposed on a day-to-day basis.
Why should people go down the more natural skincare route?
It's not 100% foolproof, but at least there are less natural ingredients that are endocrine disrupting than petrochemical ones. Not all natural are free of endocrine disruption, because there are natural ingredients that are also endocrine disrupting, but at least a lot less in that segment.
Interesting. Is there anything that people can find in the INCI list, in the ingredients?
It's difficult, I think, for a consumer to just... I'm sure that most of the brands out there are careful not to use any ingredient that is on that endocrine disrupting list today. But as we discussed, that list is so short. The test on the final formula is the only way to ensure the lack of endocrine disruption on the product. But again, I think we'll probably get there. There's a lot of things that we can do as an industry. There's a lot of things that the regulators can do. We're probably all going towards that way, that direction. These things take time. We need to be more careful. The regulators are also working towards the protecting consumers, but we need to be also mindful that it takes up to 10 years for a ingredient to actually go on that endocrine disrupting list. And even once that ingredient goes on the list, it can take up to 7 years for that ingredient to still exist in a product in the market.
To phase it out of that product. Yeah, that's unbelievable.
So it's a long process, and we should really be all encouraging everyone to test their formulas for endocrine disruption.
Exactly. Well, that was really, really fascinating. Thank you so much, Tule. It's all about being informed and educated around this topic.
Absolutely.
And thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Lisa.